Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I am doing well. So far, so good anyway, except so I have this new light thing. Because I work in a cave, even though there are two windows, and I just I just can't come to terms with the light on my face. So if I turn it off, it looks like I'm in a cave. So anyway, enough about me. Oh, excellent. So I have not met you before, Kathleen, and I have not met you before, Catherine, and I have not met you before, Riley King. Being Riley. Oh, you're on mute, Riley.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Put this light.
We won't be offended if you turn off your light.
It makes you glow though. It looks really
It
good on
does.
screen.
See, now it looks like I'm in a cave.
That's not too bad.
No? Okay. All right. Thanks.
I don't
We'll
think
work.
so.
We'll work on that later.
It's dark out today too.
It is. It is. Normally, because I've got windows on either side, normally it's fine. So, but I got kind of sideswiped the other day. I was I was just emceeing a talk for Greater Nashville Realtors, and suddenly they put me on camera like big. My face took up the whole screen, and I was like, "What?"
Whoa.
I mean,
I did not sign up for this.
I literally started leaning back to make myself small. Yeah. Anyway, enough about that. Hey, good morning, Lindsay, Latina. Good to see you. All righty. I don't know why this says Village Brokers here, but my name is Rebecca. So let's see if I can change it. I'm Rebecca Cooper. So glad to see you all this morning. All righty. Oh, good. We got Mindy and Lon. Fantastic. So I'm just going to start talking a little bit. Pricing Pros, for those who haven't joined and for those who have been here before, it's designed just to be a hands-on practice to encourage people to, just practice those skills. I'll be the first to admit that, sometimes the first time I'll look at comps or for either for a listing or for submitting an offer is like 5 minutes before I need to do it. And that's a terrible time to be looking at comps for the first time, because the real, it's not magic, it's not art. The real science behind comps is it takes some time, and it's an iterative process. So you put some, you put some parameters in, and and then you assess the comps and say, yes, I'm feeling good about that, but what if I consider this? But what if I consider that? So I'm not here today to say I'm a pricing pro. It's to talk about the process and to look at different types of properties and just discuss the process and hone our skills at it. So today we're looking at lake property, not outside of Davidson County. And I'm not going to lie, that's a bit outside of my comfort zone. I'm usually in East Nashville in an older neighborhood, and so I feel good there. But who's to say I won't get be fortunate enough to have a buyer who wants to buy lakefront property? So it's good to take a look at things like this and just practice that. And excellent, Emily Warner's on here today. This property was submitted by Emily because her buyers are looking at it. So we're happy to have Emily in and her insight. She's run comps on this. The information that is out there in the education drive and agent toolkit, that information has been provided by Emily. So she's going to be our resident expert on this property today. All right, so we're going to get started, and I'm going to share my screen here. And again, this is not to say that I'm the pricing pro. We've got everybody here has some experience, so collectively we're going to come together and see if we can find out what a good offer price or even a listing price would be for this. Okay. All right, I am attempting to share. Wow, I've got a lot of stuff open. That's not good. Okay. Let's try that. All right. That's not what you want to see. Do you all see real tracks? Excellent. Phew. All right, step one, good to go. Now, for anyone who joins Pricing Pros in the next several months, I'm going to be harping on this very important thing. Real Tracks is going through some changes. They're making significant changes, improvements to the interface. All right. Love it or hate it, Real Tracks is our MLS system, and it's our primary way of searching for stuff. And we're not talking about setting up searches in Boomtown and that sort of stuff. That's a separate thing. For Pricing Pros, we use Real Tracks. And for those who have been in the business for a minute or two, the interface that we've become used to, I'm going to pull it up right now, and it may be what everyone's using now, right? Maybe, is going to be going away. Like legit, they're going to flip the switch, and this interface that I hope you're seeing right now is going to go away. All right, and this is what I've been using for my time in real estate, and so it can really feel like, at least at first, that somebody moved your cheese. For those who came from a corporate background and read that book. So what I'm encouraging everyone to do, and what we're going to do on Pricing Pros from here on out, is we're going to use the new interface. All right, it's going to be in everyone's best interest. They don't know the date, the timeline on when they're going to flip the switch, but it's going to be flipped 3 to 4 months, they're saying. And so I encourage everyone to go on and start training yourself in the new interface. Caveat, the new interface is still in beta testing. So not all the features that we have today in the current interface are there. Don't freak out. They're going to be there. But I think it's in everyone's best interest to go on and start using the interface. Okay, enough for that public service announcement. So I'm going back to the main page of Real Tracks. And this is the, where we start all our searches. But before we go into that, we're going to talk a little bit about the subject property, which is 2080 Puckett Point Road. All right, in Smithville. It's a lake view property. And Emily, do you have a desire to introduce this property?
I will, just to do it for fun.
Oh, well, you don't have to. I mean, I'm happy to, but maybe I'll introduce it and then you can add some color to it. How's that?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, great. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's say that a buyer calls me up and says, hey, I'm interested in this property. One of the nice features of the new interface with Real Tracks is this quick search box right here. And I encourage everybody to start your search here rather than used to be, we'd go up here and pick what you want to search for. So I'm going to start with typing the address, 2080 Puckett. Oh, look, it found it. Sweet. So I'll select that. And I'm going to add some insight that I've learned in working through this new interface. If the property that you're searching for is currently active, under contract, showing anything other than closed, withdrawn, or expired, and you start typing in that address and you select it, it's going to take you to the MLS sheet. I think that's pretty swell. All right, so it's going to pop up and bring us in work so we can learn about our property. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, just under 2,500 square feet. It was built in 1989, and it is on Center Hill Lake. I think lakefront might be a little stretch, but that it may say that in here somewhere. See down here in the waterfront area, it does say lakefront with a view of the lake. So I think that may be up for interpretation, but we'll talk about that some. I always like to read the remarks, just see if there's anything in there that might add some additional information. It says spacious, eye-popping curb appeal. I'm not sure what rustic luxury accents are, but can't wait to look at the pictures and find out what that means. But then I see, oh, fully furnished. Home is currently in a rental program. New exterior, blah, 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 blah. And then I can't see it because it's covered it, but it says all furnishings and accessories may convey. So let's keep that in mind, that this has been priced to sell as a complete package. All right. All right. Emily's provided some additional information for us. Most or all of the comps that she has looked at may be short-term rented, but there were a couple that she didn't verify that. There's no HOA on the subject property, but some of the other comps may have an HOA, so we don't want to think about that. Some of comps may have community amenities if it's in, covered by an HOA, but this one does not. The seller is out of state and motivated. We do know that the listing agent is a village agent, and so never be afraid to call that agent and just ask some questions. Hey, what's of most value to your seller? That sort of stuff. Seller's out of state and motivated, and the property makes, I'm going to assume this is $28,000 a year, not $28 a year as a rental, and her buyers want to use it and Airbnb it, so that income generating, possibility is important to them. And to consider, her buyers have to sell a property. So this would be, if she makes an offer, it would be contingent on selling this other property. So there's a home sale contingency, and it's a 1031 exchange, which could add some additional time and complication to a process. Emily, anything else you'd like to add?
No, you got it. You covered it all.
Well, thanks for providing that information. It's always nice to have a little cheat sheet before you get started, and not just starting from a blank slate. All righty. Let's see. So to start our comp, so we've used our quick search box, and it brings us to the MLS sheet. So from this, so again, we're going to use the new interface approach. From this MLS sheet, and I like this because if you, again, scroll down, you can find I meant to check the history. Looks like back just a week or so ago, they dropped the price by $10,000. So, all right, let's see a complete sales history, see if any other, oh, wow, easy look. Okay, so this seller has been trying to sell this for a minute. Right? So it was active, then it expired, it went active, then it was expired, then it's active. There's a price drop, it expired, it went active. So we know from Emily that or the listing agent that the seller is motivated, but maybe the pricing is not reflecting how motivated they are. So just keep that in mind. All right, so from here, we'll go up to search, and we're going to click new listing search. In the past, I would have gone to residential. So I say, no, Rebecca, we're going to use the new interface. So I'm going to new listing search. For those who were on, have been on Pricing Pros the past couple of times, I was in East Tennessee using a mobile hotspot, and so not very great success. So I'm very happy to be back in high-speed internet land here. All right, so just to confirm, I'm seeing a map. If people aren't seeing a map, please yell at me and let me know. Okay, from here, I want to, so you can see I went to this search, but that's Nashville. I need to get to DeKalb County. I need to get to Center Hill Lake. So I'm going to go over here to the this navigation bar over here. I'm going to click on Center. All right, I'm not going to use this quick search box. I'm going to go here and click on Center. Ooh, I get a new quick search box. And I'm going to start typing 2080 Puckett Point Road. Oh, it found it. Yay, yay. It puts a pin right where I want to be. All right. So then from here, I want to just quickly look at, is there anything for sale in the area? Just click, search this area. Oh, there's something. Oh, wait, that's our property. Okay, so not much going on. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. because I want to see just how lakefront we are. All right, pretty close, pretty close. All right. So from here, we're going to start our search, or we're going to start refining our search. Think of this search as a giant funnel. And we're going to start putting in some more information into that funnel and squish it down, to get it through the funnel to zero in on some good comps. All right. So from here, I'm going to click on Refine Search. And then this is where all the features and information we can add to it. Now, when you do this, the listing status by default is active, coming soon, hold, and under contract showing. For comps, I want to add under contract not showing. I want to add closed, and I want to do closed because we're in kind of a rural area here, and lakefront property is a little different. If I was in East Nashville and Laughlin Springs, I might only do 6 months, but I'm going to go on out a year here and see what we get. I'm just going to start there. I'm not adding beds and baths. Again, I'm putting information into the funnel or the meat grinder or whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to start filtering down. Now, once you add something, all right, it doesn't automatically update just because I changed the listing status. So I'm going to hit search. Okay, so it added a few closed properties. All right. All right, it's 4. And most of you will know already. So I'm in a map view now, but if I just want to get a quick look at what the specs on those 4 properties, I can click on list. Or if I want to get thumbnails, I can look at grid, right? But right now I'm interested in the map. Okay, so there are a couple different ways that we can go at this point. You could go back to your search, refine search. You go back here and add some more features. Should we put beds and baths? Sure, let's do a minimum of 3 beds. All right, because our subject property is 3 beds, 2 baths. So let's put a minimum of 3 beds. And the square footage is 2494, so 2,500. So let's go pretty broad on this. Again, there aren't a ton of comps that we're seeing. Active and closed right now. So let's not narrow this down too much to start with. We can always go more narrow if we get too many comps, right? So I'm not even going to limit square footage right now. I'm just going to say minimum 3 beds and do my search. All right, that didn't bring too many more. Now, one thing that I am going to do here, because one of the features that's going to be important here is lake front, lake view, lake something. I mean, these things are out here on the road, on the highway here. Are those really comparable for our purposes? No, because we're looking for a vacation home / vacation rental Airbnb. So these properties aren't as of great interest to me anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little bit. I want to get things that are right up close to the lake. All right, so I'm going to use the draw feature. And you can do a circle, like just a radius. All right, so that's going out 2 miles. Normally we would only go out a mile or so, trying to think like an appraiser. But if we only go out a mile, that's not going to get us too much, and it gets us pretty far away from the lake on one side and gets us into the lake on the other. So I don't like the circle for this one. All right, so let's cancel that out. You can also draw a square, but I'm going to use the feature where you click to set a point, and then you click to set a point, and you click and you click and you click and you click and you click. And I'm just drawing things that are close to the water, right? Click, click, click. I'm going to go through the lake because I'm lazy, and just get to the other side. All right, I'm going to start with that. All right. And to exit the drawing mode, I always forget to do that. You have to double click to set your final point. And then you get the pop-up box that says search listing. All right. To search this area. Yeah. All right. I want to keep my map. All right. I didn't get too much. I've got 4 listings. All right. Emily, at this point, would you like to comment on how far out you went? I can show them. I've got your search saved and I'll show that in a minute. But if you were at this point in my search, what are you thinking when you're looking at comps?
I just went wider because the lake is big and it has a lot of different little inlets.
Mm-hmm.
So I went wider. I
Okay.
just going further out, but things that had closed. So
Okay. All right. So let me show you Emily's search. All right. I happen to have it saved and we'll come back over here. So it's kind of like we're checking our cheat sheet in the middle of our comps here. All right, so run the search. Okay, are you all seeing a map that has probably 10 or 12? Okay, great. All right, so I want to know where Emily's subject property is because I can't tell where it is here. So I'm going to go 20. I'm going to put in this search box 2080. Oop, Pocket. Can't spell. Pocket Point. Smithville. And it's going to drop a pin for me. Okay, great. So here's her subject property. And then these are the comps that she found. So you can see she went way over here. I mean, this is probably what, 5-6 miles. Same thing over here.
yeah, and everything's really far apart out there because you have to go like out and around. So something that will look really close on the map, I've learned the hard way that they're really far apart driving.
Right. So when we're trying to think like an appraiser, of course, an appraiser will typically in a Nashville area, will go out up to a mile-ish and looking for closed transactions within the past, depending on the area, 6 months, because the market's really fast here, right? But maybe as far out as a year. So because we're in a rural area, we're looking for kind of a specialty item. This isn't just any old property in this area. We may need to expand those. And so we're getting into some of the art of running comp. Is this too far out? One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add layers. If you haven't used the layers feature, you can add counties, zip codes, and flood hazard zones. I think when we're that close to the lake, flood hazard zone is kind of a given, although Center Hill Lake is dam controlled, so hopefully they can control that. But I'm going to look at county. Smithville's DeKalb County. I at least want to stay in DeKalb County. I don't want to cross, county lines. Usually in an urban area, we don't want to cross a major thoroughfare. We don't want to go on the other side of Briley Parkway. We don't want to go on the other side of Ellington, Parkway. We want to, stay within a small area, but we're going to have to give a little on this one. Emily, one thing that I noticed in your comps is none of the ones that we saw, at least in our preliminary one, are here. What's up with that? How did they get eliminated?
I don't remember seeing them. So somewhere in my search, maybe I went too narrow on something that weeded them out.
Gotcha.
I
And
think.
that's a great point. Sometimes, the comps are only as good as the information we put in there. So that's why we don't want to do a one and done. You kind of want to come at it from try a couple of different things, and then make sure you're getting, a representative sample. I'm going to check the chat box real quick and see. I see something. So Sylvia had a few questions that I'll read in a second. And Sylvia says, maybe your search had lake in it. And so our comps also, in addition to being only as good as what the search that we create, comps are only as good as the data, the information that the listing agents put in there. So if you're looking for lakefront, but this listing agent doesn't think this is lakefront, it's lake view, and you selected lakefront as a limiter, you might not get things like this. So again, that's why I like to start broad and not put too many limiting factors in to start with. I like to start broad and put as much into the funnel as I can, and then start adding stuff, limiters to do that. All right, a couple questions Sylvia had added. Is the buyer only purchasing this as an investment, or for investment and personal use? And that's investment and personal use.
The answer is yes for both. They want to rent it and use it. I'll answer her other question while I'm off mute. Is there more info on the 28K for the annual income? So yes, there is some extra info I got from Laura, the listing agent, on that. This seller, since they're out of state, there's kind of a monopoly on property management out around Center Hill, I've learned. And it's a company called Center Hill Chalets. And if you ever work with them, some of the folks there are also realtors. So they're also listing agents out there. So they're good folks to know. But they charge 40% property management because they're the only one out there and they can get away with it. So that's a big thing. And my buyer is interested in maybe just doing Airbnb and hiring some local cleaning folks and managing it more on their own. So that's a smaller cut. And then there are times of the year when houses tend to sell more, or is any time a good time? Yes, Sylvia, I'm moving with you. It's kind of like Nashville. There's a lot of buyers out there and not a lot of inventory. So that's been interesting. And it seems because of COVID, a lot of folks who have that extra fund that want to buy, they want to go out to the rural areas. People have been wanting to get out there. So that area has been really hot with people from Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga wanting to get out and go there. So that's just kind of one thing. Time in the market. Yes, time on market says it's overpriced. And then there was something else I was going to say, but that's it for now.
Yeah, that's great. Sylvia's coming to the same conclusion I am. We looked at, remember, the history of this listing, and they've been trying to sell it for a hot minute, more than a hot minute now that we know what's going on. Bye, Riley. Nice to meet you. See you next time. We know that it's a hot market. We know that people are looking for, vacation stuff on the lake all the time, but especially now with the pandemic and all that. So this is probably overpriced.
And we've made offers on a few other properties that I included in these comps that had tons of offers, not just multiple offers, but like 7 to 10 offers. So there is a mix of, when something's priced right out there, it goes in 2 days. It goes really fast.
Yeah, and Sylvia is adding, sometimes vacation properties have hot times of the year. Sure, especially in this like late winter, early spring. If you're buying beachfront property, on the coast, that's it. People are like, oh man, I really want one. Or sometimes in the fall when people are trying to unload their property, they weren't going to keep it through the next season, so they put it on. But if this isn't the case here, then time on market equals overpriced. Or it could be built on, it could be haunted, it could be, there's some other things, but I'm going to go with it's probably overpriced. All right, so I would ask I mean, at this point, I would definitely call the listing agent. It's Laura Kirby, and just have a conversation. Hey, Laura, I've got somebody who's interested in this property. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Seems like it's been on the market for a little while. Is your, is your seller just really set on this price? Or are there other considerations that we're not thinking of? And we do want to keep in mind, because we read the notes, that the seller has priced this probably priced this, and you want to clarify this, confirm this with the listing agent, fully furnished. All right. And from pre-licensing course, we know that we don't deal with personal property, and all that stuff in there is personal property. All right. So that's something to consider, just a factor, and have a discussion with, would you want to, so when you're advising your client on a price, you're going to want to have those costs, like for the real property and the personal property. You're going to have to account for both of them, but you're going to want to put that into separate buckets. And if you're not doing that, and you're looking at this property and saying that is $20,000 overpriced, but then you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's $20,000 worth of stuff in there, and they're considering that, so you have to, again, you have to dig. You got to dig to try to get more information. What's that, Emily?
There's a hot tub included too.
Hot tub? Well, this thing is underpriced then. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to go back to, and in the agent toolkit, you'll find the printout of the comps that Emily had come to. Excuse me. So I'm going to pull those up here. And we'll look again. We know that hers went kind of far out, like five miles even. Chat. Okay. And just going to kind of glance through her comps. Whoa, look at this one, 12.5 acres. Okay. So if that's going to be one of our real comps, you're going to want to consider that. Everything's pretty much 3-bed, 2-bath. Okay. We've got built anywhere from 1976 to 2018. Ooh, and the Four Seasons Resort, fancy. So you've got kind of this is a broad range, all right? So I'm not sure if I'm in Laughlin Springs in East Nashville, I'm not comfortable with some of the spread on this. But again, because this is a specialty item in a rural area and lake property, we're gonna have to, really dig deep and be flexible, but also sensible in how we expand our search. All right. All right. Did somebody have a chat?
Can I chat in on one of these comps?
Please.
So anything at Four Seasons cannot be rented. I included it just because my buyer also looked in Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little part of her that's like, well, if we found the right thing, we wouldn't rent it out. So I did include that for that purpose, but there's 3 in there that are Four Seasons. So those cannot be rented out as vacation properties, but there are more amenities in those 3. And an HOA, there's a community pool, community boat ramp, I believe. So just giving you some info on those 3.
That's great. That's good to know, because in my ideal perfect little comp world, I'm throwing those out because that's not comparable. So, other than it's close to the lake, that's pretty much it. Too many other considerations there. But even if something is not truly a comp, we want to be educated about what's going on there and why this one might be priced differently, even if it's not a true comp. So even if something is going to get pulled out when we're getting to the point where we're doing our pricing assessment, we still want to know what's going on here. All righty. Yeah, I agree, Emily. All right, everybody on the call, if you could, I'll set up a GoFundMe. If you can give us all $2, we'll get Sylvia a camera with a mic on it. All right. Totally, these were good for buyer to look at, to compare, and not on price. Excellent. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start the search over again. All right, so we've kind of seen what Emily came up with. I'm going to go down my path just real quickly. And so I go back to new listing search. It's good to see this too.
Hey, Rebecca, will you zoom out on that? Oh, sorry, where you were.
Yeah.
Sylvia wanted to see the prices.
Sure. Yep. Going back. Oh, you can't go. You can never go back. Search. All right, my high-speed internet here is kind of like sort of okay speed internet, but it's better than it was. So you want to see prices, go to list. All right, so here's the list price, sale price. Days on market is important too, right? So it's from 369.9 to 500,000. I mean, that's kind of a decent little cluster for the knowing that these may not all be comps, right? So we're starting to kind of zero in. All right, is that good, Sylvia? Did you see what you needed to see? I'm gonna take that as yes.
And I'm remembering my search, Rebecca, and I did all 3 2s plus and 2,000 to like 2,600 square feet, something like that. Maybe 2,000 to 3,000 that were in this price range.
Gotcha. And so we'll touch. That's great to know. We'll touch on that when in doing this new search. I'll add some additional features. All right, so I'm going to go new listing search. Boop, boop, boop. I'm not going to type it in here because I want to drop my pen first so it knows where I am. Just taking a second. Come on, there we go. 2080 pocket point. Excellent. Drop a pin. I'll just go on and hit search the area because it's fun. I'm going to zoom out a little and I'm going to draw. All right. Now, I'm not going to go out quite as far as Emily did right now. All right. But I am going to go further than a mile. All right. See, I don't want to get over here. I don't want that. But I do want to get, you know, I'd like to, are these properties over here comparable? Is that area comparable? I don't know. I'm going to stay for now on this side. All right. I'm not going to cross over this major highway here. I'm going to stay over here and see what I can find. All right. So I'm going to draw. And I think I will go just on the other side of the lake over here. All right. And again, this is where, you know, you want to, you know, use best practices, best, you know, recommendations and stuff, but we're getting a little out of my comfort zone here. So I'm not going to go too broad to start with. All right, I am going to go to the other side of the lake, stay kind of close. I'm going to go through the lake, see if there's anything up here, and double click. All right. So you can kind of see I'm staying sort of close to this area, but I'm not going to cross this major highway. I'm not going to cross down here, you know, to the lakefront down here. I'm not going to cross 70. That's a major road, but I may have to. I'm going to go and refine my, so in addition, so I'm going to search listings. Obviously, I know what's in there. Just the one. All right. It only found one, so it took me there. All right. Now, one thing that I need to do, we know that when you're refining, when you're doing a search, the default, again, is active, coming soon, hold, and under contract showing. But I want to add under contract not showing. Most importantly, for doing comps and getting pricing, I want to make sure we get the closed ones. I'm going to go out a year. Actually, because we know that we're not getting too much there, I'm going to go out a year and a half. All right, just because I want to see. I want to make sure I cross over a line between, as Sylvia suggested, is there a hot time, right? So I want to make sure I'm getting a good sample. So let's say we start July 1st, 2019 through today. Again, if you're in Nashville, you're not gonna go out a year and a half because there's gonna be plenty of comps within that. But I'm just gonna go on and give a little extra. Now search this area. I want to keep the map drawing because I want to see. All right, I still just got the 4 listings that I got before. All right. Do we think 4 is representative? No, probably not, but maybe it is here. But one thing, if I do expand my search more, I'm going to want to probably give a little more weight, a little more consideration to these, because they are right here in this little neighborhood, in this little cluster. So maybe I put an asterisk by them and say, okay, this one that's 75,000, it's probably built on an ancient Native American burial ground. And so that's why it sold for 75,000 that close to the lake. Obviously, I didn't put that in the listing notes, but there's something going on with that, so would want to look in. But something that closed at 450, that's close, is this close by, that's not in the 4 seasons, all that's going to carry a little more weight in my assessment, right? I'm going to take a look at the list. And I think it's interesting that basically none of these 5 were in Emily's search, right? And that's okay. That's why I'm not going to stop here and say, whoop, I got my comps. I'm going to expand it out a little. Maybe I add some more, some features in my search features here. Maybe I go over, Emily said she did a minimum of 3 beds, a minimum of 2 baths. That's probably going to get rid of that $75,000 property if I had to guess. Square footage, let's see, this one is just at 2,500, I believe, 2,494. So maybe I go 2,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet. I go 500 square feet on either side. That seems reasonable. Again, if you're in a subdivision in Brentwood, maybe you're not going to want to have the range that big because things are going to be a little more consistent. Year built, I'm not going to put a limitation on that. Again, we just don't have enough comps yet. I'm not ready to start stuffing things too far down that funnel because I'm going to end up with no comps. I'm just going to have an active listing here. Do I want to include auctions? I don't in this situation. I don't want to limit something to open house, garage spaces. All right, I'm going to search. Now, in the current interface, there are additional features that you can add. You can add lakefront, lake view. You can add, hot tub. You can add all pool, in-ground pool. This is in beta. We don't have all those extra things just yet. Okay, so if you really need those tools, you're gonna have to go back to the old interface. 9 times out of 10, I don't add special features when I'm doing comps. I don't need to. I'm not looking at things with a pool. If somebody does, the only time I think I've ever done it is when somebody wanted a pool. And so you can add that. So if you need that, then you're going to have to use the other interface for now. But we don't have to do that. So, all right, we'll do search. I'm still just, and now I just have the 1. All right, so I put something in my search features that eliminated those closed items. And that to me is too bad because I at least want to see what they were. Maybe there's not something that's, maybe everything is just outside of that 3,000 square foot range into 3,100, but I really need to see those. So I want them back, right? Does that make sense? So that's why you want to, play around with the comp. So I'm going to take out what I put in there because see if I can get back a few more. We'll just take a quick look at the comps that pulled up here. All right. All right, 3,232. Okay. So we did eliminate the one that sold for 75,000 because it was 1 bed, 1 bath. All right. I'm fine with that. But I really don't want to limit all these others because there's something, there's some information there that we should at least consider. Square footage. Okay, so we did 2,000 to 3,000. So this one dropped out because it was just under that. Oh, so close. Well, I still want to see it. Why did this one drop out? Oh, that's our subject property. Sorry, it didn't drop out. This one, again, we went from 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. We lost this one because it's at 3,400 square feet. But again, we have so few comps here. I don't want to limit it so much that I don't at least get to look at that one. 5 bed, 2 bath, 450,000. All right, here's one built in 2002, 3,700 square feet. Obviously, that's significantly larger, but I think we do still need to look at all these and then adjust the pricing, our pricing consideration for higher square footage, more bedrooms. All right, let's look at the map one more time. So again, I've missed out on, Emily had some, oh, we got some more. Why didn't those show up until just now? That's random. We got 9 listings, woo! All right, cooking with gas now. I think this is interesting based on something that Emily said that, some of these property management companies also have realtors. I might be interested in talking to old Tony Luna. He's close to out here. He could be the king of Center Hill Lake. I don't know. But
He's the king of
he's a
Center Hill
resource.
Lake.
What's that?
He is the king of Center Hill Lake. His name is on most of the signs out there.
All right. Well, that's good to know. So you might look at a longer history, see everything that he sold, and kind of learn something from his pricing strategy. Right? So just tons of information. Literally, I could spend hours in here because I'm a data nerd and I love doing this. But there's all sorts of information here. You can't look at everything, obviously. The point here is don't limit yourself too much that you're not getting enough information to really do a good pricing assessment. Sometimes I just put myself on the clock. I'm like, okay, Rebecca, you have 1 hour, and then you have to come up with something. So, all right. So I do like this. I've got some different comps than Emily had. So what I'm probably going to do now is I would go back to my map. I'll probably expand it out just a little bit, try to get a few more, capture a few, bump it up against the list that Emily came up with. I'm probably going to call Emily and we're going to have a conversation about this. And together, I think that's a great idea. I really love working with somebody else, especially on a special snowflake. And note, all comps are special snowflakes, all of them. But I like to bounce it off somebody else. If you've got somebody who wants to, just practice a little bit, it's great to say, hey, would you look at this 10 minutes? Would you look at this and just tell me what you think? And I think that's a great way to test your logic on comps, right? So Emily, you're looking at the comps here that I popped up. Are we going to drop any of these out? This 1-1, this 2-1. I still want to know what they sold for, and I want to look at them, but they're probably not true comps for us, right? The one that's 860, I'm going to want to look at that. It's not that it's the price. It's not that it's double the square footage. There's something here. It's probably not a true comp. But let's say for the sake of argument that I've looked at everything, I'm going to take off those 2. I don't recommend just taking off the top and the bottom randomly, but I'm just going to do it because I always go over in pricing pros. Sorry about that.
So I'm glad you said that because I pretty much always hack the top and the bottom. So why don't you just rule those out?
So I'm going to say I ruled these out because I looked at them and this one was kind of a 1-1 shack. Hey, look, if I could have a 1-1 shack lakefront or nothing on lakefront, I'm going the 1-1. But for assessing pricing on this one, so I'm going to say I have a good logic for dropping those out, but I don't really. So anyway, so I've got those. I'm going to call those my comps. In the new interface, you go to the 3 dots. I don't know what this is called, but it's the 3 dots. And this is where you find your CMA tool, your cloud CMA, if you want to do a buyer tour. So it's over here now. All right. This is also a new feature that's going to be in here. You can go straight to transaction desk. So if you know the one you want to make an offer on, you select that one only. Let's say I know I'm going to make an offer on that one. Then I can go straight to transaction desk. It's going to plop the information in there, and that gets me halfway there to writing an offer, right? All right, so that's just a pro tip for today. All right, so I'm going back on, I make my CMA, boop, boop, boop. Again, I have very good reasons for dropping those out, which I'm not going to share with you right now. And I'm going to do my CMA. All right. So our subject property is active, so it's going to pop up here. Let's see. Oh, Sylvia says a tip. I would call Suzanne Flynn, buyer's agent for 1586 Puckett. Sold for 450. Doesn't look like it was on the leg. Built 81. Subject is 89. Could learn something. Yes. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody who sold a house there. It's one of the benefits of being in a community of realtors, right? We can help each other out. All right. So here's the subject property. What's the easiest way to find the buyer's agent in the mail? I'll show you that in just a second. All right. So again, in comps, we want to look primarily at closed. And so we've got a 323243. So we'd have to make calculation adjustment for that one because it's got one more bed and one more bath. Let's see, this one is a 5.2, considerably more square footage. So we'll make an adjustment in our calculation for that. Here's a 5.3. Again, we're going to make adjustments for that. But let's assume, for the sake of argument, that all these are pretty good comps. You can look at down here, the average and the median sales price per square foot, the median and average sales price here. We know that our subject property falls in a little on the lower end in terms of square footage, in terms of bedrooms and baths. So at $182.40 a square foot, that seems a little high based on what I'm seeing with the comps here. All right, to me. And again, I think a large part of this is because it's priced furnished. All right. Now, one thing we might want to know from the other agents that have closed some of these properties is, were they sold with the stuff? Was, and if all of them were sold without, unfurnished, this may be, depending on the furnishings, what did it say? Luxury rustic or rustic luxury? I don't know what it was, but are those worth $20,000? Well, in our comp math, we need to sort of put that in another bucket over here, right? Because we're not supposed to be including in a price furnishings. The exception is in vacation areas. Sometimes that is the norm. And that's one thing you're going to want to try to find out from agents who have sold in this area, maybe from Laura Kirby. Maybe she can give you some insight. She's a listing agent. Are things typically sold furnished? And then if they're not, you need to figure out from your buyer, how much is all that stuff worth to you? Do you want all that stuff? Yes, you want that stuff. Okay, all right. Because if this price at $182 a square foot is incorporating those furnishings, then yeah, it looks much too high. If it's including all or if it doesn't include the furnishings, it's much too high. If it does, maybe it's too high, maybe it's not. I don't know. All right, let's see. A lot of them do include furnished. That's good to know. If there's a hot tub, it's pretty, yes, hot tub is typically included. That would be, think of the hot tub almost like the refrigerator. If it's there, it's not a guarantee that it stays, but often it does. But that's not written into the contract, so you would want to put that in items to remain if your person wants the hot tub. And if the seller wants to keep the hot tub, they have to make sure that they put that in items not to remain to make it explicit. All right. So I'm going to address just a couple of questions, including how do you find the buyer's agent? So I'm going to go to something that's closed. I'm going to pick this one because I want to look at it. I'm going to show you where to find buyer's agent. So you go to your closed, to the closed listing. You scroll down and So the listing agent was Sharon Thomas. The sales agent was Cheryl Kraushar. All right. So when you have a listing and it closes, the listing agent puts the information for the buyer's agent or the selling agent, right? Because the buyer's agent is the one who caused the sale to happen. They brought the buyer. It will be in here. And you can click on their information and you can find their phone number and their email address and their license number and who they're with, their brokerage and all that sort of stuff. And you can contact them that way. All right. So, any other questions? Any questions? Does anyone want to add something like, oh, in my search, I'm going to want to do this, my search for comps. Why would something sell for $5 less than listing price? Is that what this is? Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So my guess is that there was a negotiation, and let's say the list price was $649. Let's say that they came in with an offer of $645, and then there was some negotiation. Seller to credit this much over here and this, or that the other, or maybe the buyer was just a jerk and was like, I'm not paying list price, I'm doing $5 less. I don't know. That is a funny observation though. Maybe it only appraised for $648, $995. The appraiser wouldn't give them that extra $5. I don't know. Other questions? All righty. Well, then I want to thank everybody for joining today. I hope this was helpful in terms of, sort of going through a process. Lake property, it makes me a little nervous. So I'm probably going to partner with somebody. I'm going to ask friends, hey, who knows Center Hill Lake? Or if I don't know anybody and can't find anybody, I'm going to look at what's closed around there, look at the buyer's agents and see if I can make a new friend, or even the listing agent, and call and say, hey, look, I need to know this area a little better. Or if you're really, 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 really not feeling it, we're bound by the code of ethics not to practice outside our area of knowledge and expertise. You can always refer it to someone, get your 25% usually referral fee, give it to somebody else, or see if you can find somebody to partner with. Hey, this isn't really my area, but can we work together on this? I'll go 50-50, something like that. So you want to make sure that you're doing in the very best interest of your buyer or your seller. And if you just really don't know that area, you might want to refer it out. That's very common, especially over in the Smoky Mountains. There's a huge vacation rental market over there. I mean, it's its own beastie. They even have their own association. The Smoky Mountain Association is different than the Knoxville Area Association, which covers part of that area. And those folks specialize this. And in 95% of the cases in the Smokies, those properties are selling furnished. So it's good to have a friend who knows that type of market and maybe take a look at your comps. All right.
Real quick, do you want to know what happened?
Yes. What happened?
So we went to counter offer number 3. I'm looking at where we started. We started my my buyers wanted to offer at $420.
Okay.
Which they did. And then there was a counter offer of $449.9.
Okay, so you started with 420.
Mm-hmm. Then to
449.9.
correct.
So I'm going to say 450. All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to say 450 because I can remember that. Okay.
And then we went to, I just couldn't remember, 425. We came up to 425 on my side.
Okay.
Buy side. And then we got to counter number 3 from the seller, 438 to 50. And we slept on it, and I tried really hard to convince my buyer that this was, going to work for them, because we've been looking at places a long time. We've been under contract once, and we've probably written 3 offers, and my buyer decided to reject and not take it at 438. They felt it was above their top. But I learned a lot from Laura in the process. I wished I had called her earlier in the process, because I think maybe that could have gone a little differently. I definitely learned a lot from her. So that would be just my biggest advice, is call the agent early in the process. Call them maybe before you go view it, if you have time. I just need to get into that practice, and I haven't been. So that's my advice.
Yeah. And I just think that's a good practice, even if I was, maybe not before I went to show it, but certainly, before I start talking to, let's say, about my buyer about putting an offer in just in Laughlin Springs, down the road. I'm going to want to call that agent. I'm going to want to say, hey, I got a client who's looking at this, and, what are things that are important to your seller? And just open up that dialogue. And if nothing else, it to me, if somebody calls me for a listing, to talk about a listing, it's like, hey, yeah, there's a real person over there. There's a real person. It's not about this offer and this offer and this offer and this offer and this offer, and we don't agree. What are other things of value, things of consideration? Let's say that Emily's folks just absolutely didn't want it furnished. Like, ask the listing agent, this price seems possibly to contemplate the fact that it's furnished, but my buyers aren't interested in that. Do your sellers just absolutely want to sell it with all the stuff? Or, can we put that over here in a different bucket and just talk about the property and come to an agreement on that, and then figure out that piece, to try to problem solve. So sorry, Emily, I'm sorry you couldn't get that one.
Well, it's nice that it's an example today, because it still hasn't sold, and my buyer for that is still trying to sell a property, and I have a belief that, like, the timing will work out when it's supposed to. The right buyer for her property is going to present themselves, and then the right house will work. And we left this, even though we politely rejected. On both sides, we left it as, if you change your mind, please come back.
Right.
So the door is still open, and it's actually still a possibility for us. So
yeah. Well, good. I love this. Sylvia says also, if they did buy it and feel like they overpaid for it, they'd put that on you, which is true. All the blame, none of the credit. So I just clicked on this 225 Blue Sky Drive. That is a beautiful view. Look at that. That's gorgeous. But this is just the most expensive that was in our comps. But I love this. Paved private road, well-established flowering shrub garden, hot tub, air medic. What? That's a selling point, air medic? So maybe I don't know. That's funny. Handicap accessible. Let's see. Lindsay, yes, you can ask for a statement. Sometimes it's in the private remarks. Would you call other agents to find out what the rental income is? I totally missed it. Yes, absolutely. And if it's priced as contemplating that it's, a rental income generating, same thing in East Nashville. If it's possible to Airbnb it, people are going to price it a little higher rather than a house that's not, eligible for Airbnb. So it's just because they're looking at it not just as a family home, but as income generating. And so that's going to probably draw a little higher price. So yeah, that's a great question. And if somebody is savvy in terms of how they rent it, and run it like a business, then they'll have a pro forma to justify that additional price value that they've built into there to help them sell it. So good. All righty. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today on Pricing Pros. And I liked this one. This was a good one. It really stretched me a little bit because I've never helped someone buy or sell a lakefront property, but my family has one that's going to be that they're going to need to sell, not on Center Hill Lake, in East Tennessee. So this was fun. I'll be contacting all of you when that happens to help me with the comp. Last tip, the PSA is please try to start practicing in the new interface. Also, finally, RealTracks is going to have an app, and this is part of it, and it'll look identical. All right. Right now, RealTracks doesn't have an app. It's not mobile friendly very much, but they're going to have an app. It's also in beta testing now. I'm on the beta testing group for that. Anybody can be on the beta testing group. It's not that I'm that special. But I am on the beta testing group because I want to be ready when they flip the switch. So please try to start using the new interface if you're not already. One thing that I will point out, everybody knows, hopefully, that in RealTracks, you can go up to the Help Center and sign up for a class. They're doing everything remotely now on Zoom. And let's see. Is the class on Tuesday for the app for Village? I didn't see it on the Greater Nashville site. Just so class on Tuesday for the app. Would the new app be consumer side or pro side? Lon, it's both. They've gotten rid of the realtracks.com and realtracks.net. Although when you log in, the realtors will have access to some additional stuff, but it's going to be the same. Okay, so there's something in the calendar. Let me check that because I don't know what that is. When you go in here, you can, the virtual online training. Now, there are a couple of associations, Williamson County being one of them. So if you're in Franklin, Williamson County is doing some in person, but you can also register for online. They're doing blended model hybrid, both online and in person in Williamson County. I got a virtual online training, and there is a course tomorrow with Bobby Joe Nugent on Zoom updates and new features. It is 1 hour, and Bobby Joe, if you haven't taken a class with Bobby Joe, she's phenomenal, and she has committed to doing her courses exclusively in the new interface to help people get to know it. Not all instructors will do that just yet, and that's okay. You can still learn a lot of stuff using that old interface, but because I know that the sort of Damocles is starting to swing on that, I want to start training myself and getting immersed in the new one. So tomorrow, 1 o'clock with Bobby Joe. It's free. Just you can see I'm registered because I need some more help. She'll sort of do a tour of that. Here, the RealTracks mobile app. I believe that one is the beta, but I'm not sure. I'm not the RealTracks expert. I'm the source of the source. So, but yeah, want to point that out. And I'm going to look at the calendar real quick because I don't know what this thing in the calendar is. I don't know what's there. All right, let's go to my calendar. You can guys see my disaster of an inbox. Maybe I'll stop sharing so you don't see the disaster of the inbox. All right, and the calendar, this is on Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday, RealTracks class, the new RealTracks, 9:30 to 11. That is not Village only. That is, yeah, that's a RealTracks class. So I'm gonna guess that we sign up here. RealTracks mobile app. What was that date? Sorry, y'all.
Next Tuesday, the 26th.
The 26th,
Mm-hmm.
customizing. I don't know. I don't see that one. Oh, I bet I do know. I know. No? I thought maybe it was because it was through Williamson County. I don't know the answer. Oh, I think I do know. All right. I'm sorry. You'll have to listen to me as I do this, but I think I might know the answer. Let me just look. Do. So weird to not have that over there. Events calendar 26th. I have no idea. I will check with Ted and see, because I don't know. When I click on the link, it takes me to, it's a Real Track. It's been set up by Real Tracks, not by Greater Nashville. I have no idea. I'm sorry. But we'll have Ted make an announcement, and I'll follow up. For the folks who are still on here, Catherine, Lindsay, Cindy, are you guys in Jumpstart right now? No? All right. Well, I'll have Ted make an announcement about that, because I have no idea what that is. But it can't be bad. I mean, all classes are good. So, but when I followed the link, it was established by Real Tracks, but I don't know if it's just for Village or what. Sorry. All righty. Well, thank you all, Sylvia, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Lon, it's
Thank
nice
you
to
so
see
much.
you. Yeah, I hope you'll join us in 2 weeks. We'll be doing another special snowflake, because they're all special snowflakes. And if you have a listing that you'd like us to examine, or if you have a buyer who's looking at something in particular, let us know, and we'll tee that one up. All
This
right.
was really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you joined. It's again, this is just it's think of it as like a workout, like
Yeah.
just to periodically do it. And if you have a chance to look at it ahead of time, and just do a little, great. And if you don't, show up anyway, just, have it on, in your earbuds while you're vacuuming or whatever. I mean, I almost always pick up something from everybody else, which is great, including there's some Real Track something next Tuesday, and I don't know what it is, but I totally want to do it, and I'm going to find out about it. All right, guys, take care, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on Pricing Pros.
Bye, guys.